Imagine a world with absolutely no borders, no physical churches, and, get this, no traditional families whatsoever. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating and honestly a pretty radical spiritual manifesto. It's a text from December 2022 written by a figure known as Daiyaform Buddha, and it's called An Introduction to the Kingdom of the Greatest Creator. Okay, so let's just jump right in. What we're really looking at here is a complete blueprint for a utopian overhaul of human society. It mixes these ancient religious motifs with a sweeping, uncompromising reimagining of basically everything: how we live, how we govern, and how we interact with the planet. It's a really bold read, and whether you look at this through a philosophical, sociological, or spiritual lens, the structural vision it lays out is incredibly thought-provoking. Utopian texts like this, they always act like a mirror for our current societal anxieties. They show us exactly what people are desperately trying to escape. So let's see how this author builds their completely new world.
So, how do you get people on board with such a massive shift? Well, to understand this manifesto, we really have to look at how it hooks the reader right out of the gate. The author deliberately starts off by quoting the Gospel of Matthew, specifically referencing Jesus Christ's 2,000-year-old words about seeking the kingdom of heaven. The text also pulls in Matthew 4:17, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." It's a brilliant rhetorical move, actually, because before throwing you into a world that challenges literally everything we know about modern life, the author grounds you in this familiar, trusted historical framework. They're strategically tapping into this deep, millennial-old human anticipation for a perfect divine kingdom, which makes this radically unfamiliar concept feel safe, destined, and rooted in an ancient promise.
But wait, here's where the author throws a massive curveball, a total paradigm shift. Daiyaform Buddha contrasts that ancient looking-to-the-future prophecy with a super-urgent modern declaration. The text flat-out claims, "The kingdom of the greatest creator has appeared on the earth, you should leave everything behind." They're saying this isn't some distant promise for the afterlife anymore. Nope, it is manifested right here, right now, in our present reality. It totally plays on the psychological hook of absolute immediacy. Because, let's face it, as humans, we're kind of impatient. A future paradise is compelling, sure, but the promise of a paradise today, that demands your attention right away. It quite literally demands that you become a citizen of this new kingdom first, leaving the whole flawed old world completely in the dust.
All right, let's move on to Section 1, a new spiritual kingdom. So if this kingdom is already here on Earth, what exactly is it, and how does it even work? Well, the author defines it as a land of freedom that's anchored by some very tangible, concrete rights. Every single citizen is guaranteed 8 specific things. We've got survival, creation, migration, speech, the individual, thought, learning, and this one is super interesting, refusal. So it's not just some cloudy, ethereal concept. The source material builds a strict, structural foundation of personal liberty. Just think about what guaranteed survival or migration means for human anxiety. We're talking a world with no passports, no borders, and zero fear of starvation. And that last right, refusal, that is absolutely fascinating. It's basically the ultimate right to just say no to anything that violates your personal autonomy. If you're in this kingdom, these 8 rights are your rock-solid, untouchable baseline.
Now, with everyone having all these ultimate freedoms, someone or something has to keep the peace, right? Under this framework, the governance structure is entirely conceptual. According to the text, the supreme authority isn't a human leader. There's no president or prime minister. It's the greatest creator itself. The highest constitution is defined as the way of the greatest creator, which they refer to as the Tao. And the highest law? That's a set of principles called the 800 Values for Human Beings. There are absolutely no human legislators, no biased judges, and zero corruptible courts mentioned anywhere in here. The entire legal and constitutional framework is elevated up to a supreme spiritual plane. It essentially replaces our flawed human bureaucracy with what the author presents as infallible, universal truth.
Okay, diving into Section 2, redefining global institutions.
Once those personal rights are locked in, the text systematically goes about dismantling pretty much all of our traditional human institutions. It beautifully contrasts the old world with the new, stating that in this kingdom, physical churches, Buddhist temples, and Taoist temples simply don't exist. Instead, it reassigns those sacred roles directly to nature. The sun, moon, and stars, those become the churches. The mountains and rivers, they serve as the Buddhist temples, and the wind, clouds, rain, and snow act as the Taoist temples. The author is completely bypassing brick-and-mortar places of worship. They're arguing that the cosmos and the earth itself are the ultimate natural sanctuaries. It's this incredibly poetic shift that completely democratizes the divine. I mean, you don't need a priest or a building to connect with the sacred when you're literally surrounded by it all the time.
And it definitely doesn't stop at just physical buildings. The text claims our entire geopolitical setup is completely obsolete. Just imagine a reality with no countries, no organized religions, and no political parties whatsoever. Instead of all that, the text proposes that the entire Earth is just one shared home for everybody. Nature takes the place of organized religion, and instead of rigid, polarizing political parties, society just operates through spontaneous free associations and gatherings. The appeal here is pretty profound. It's aiming to completely eradicate the main drivers of human conflict, tribalism and war. It's a vision of a borderless, radically unified planetary existence where people gather because of shared interests, not just geographic obligation.
Let's look at Section 3, Society, Family, and Wealth.
So tearing down global systems is one thing, but how does this utopia actually change your everyday life? Well, this is probably one of the most striking and challenging claims in the whole manifesto. The text declares that the nuclear family, traditional marriage, and conventional relatives just do not exist anymore. Instead, those concepts get universally expanded. Marriage is redefined simply as being kind and loving each other freely. Family becomes anyone who shares that kindness. And incredibly, the text asserts that all citizens in this kingdom are considered relatives. It's a complete dissolution of exclusive biological or legal bonds. It's asking people to give up that tight-knit, exclusive family unit, but in return, it promises this massive world of universal communal kinship, where theoretically anyway, loneliness just can't exist.
And this communal mindset bleeds right into the kingdom's economic model too. There are no government officials collecting taxes and absolutely no free riders allowed. Everybody is a creator of wealth. But here's the kicker. Wealth isn't just physical stuff or money. The text elevates spiritual wealth and soul wealth. We're talking inner peace, wisdom, emotional elevation, kindness, to the exact same level of economic importance as producing material goods. Imagine living in an economy where helping a neighbor find peace of mind or cultivating your own inner joy is valued just as highly as building a house or harvesting crops. It's a really radical departure from our current GDP-obsessed reality. It completely redefines what it actually means for a society to be rich.
Which brings us to a really fascinating paradox right at the core of the kingdom's property laws. On one hand, we have our current system, individual ownership, which brings the burden of protecting your assets, the inevitability of inequality, and obviously the temptation to wield power over other people. But on the flip side, we have the kingdom's model. The text explicitly states that all power and all resources belong entirely to the greatest creator, not to any individual person. So technically speaking, every citizen possesses absolutely nothing. But, and this is huge, because everything is shared and managed under the creator's domain, every citizen gets to enjoy everything. You have the total freedom and access to enjoy all of life's pleasures, but you completely lack the legal ownership needed to dominate or hold power over anyone else.
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, the call to enter.
We are now hitting the dramatic climax of the source material. After mapping out this entire new world, the author totally shifts gears. The tone drops, and they deliver this stark, binary, and incredibly urgent warning. The text claims that the old system on Earth is rapidly running out of time. The author warns that everything you're currently stressing out about trying to own on Earth is just going to disappear, and that the obsessive pursuit of earthly possessions is nothing but a pursuit of dreams and bubbles. It taps so heavily into modern disillusionment, doesn't it? The choice presented is absolute, black and white. Enter this kingdom and you will survive. Stay outside of it, clinging to the old world, and you will vanish.
Which leaves us with the manifesto's final evocative promise. The text simply implores the reader to seek the kingdom right now, promising that if you seek it, you will find it. It wraps up with this really powerful image, putting the ball entirely in your court. It tells you to keep knocking on the door, promising that as long as you keep knocking, that door is eventually going to open. The text asks you to leave literally everything behind, but it promises a boundless, borderless utopia in exchange. It is a massive, radical reimagining of human existence that takes aim at every single pillar of modern society. So the only question the author leaves hanging in the air is, will you knock? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.